that was a perfect blend.
But the right theologically.
No, you were wrong there too.
Help me sing this, Amazing Grace. Help me stay up here, Rob. Amazing grace, how sweet. Where would we be without the grace of God? That saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it, man. I'll just lay it down. Thank you, Judy. We having a good time yet? When I got out of Bible college, I was evangelizing around the States, and one of my opening songs when I was called to do either a youth camp or a youth revival at a church, and I was a single act, and nobody really kind of knew how to follow me. I did my own thing with the music, and I played the bass, so it's awkward. Imagine that, playing the bass, solo singer. I wasn't married at the time. And all the youth and then the older people that were there were really kind of, first night, they don't know what to expect. Who is this guy? Talks kind of funny. And I would start out by singing, I was born in the UPC. So that kind of set the tone for the rest of the week. They were like, yo, get this guy out. It was a lot of fun. How many was born in the... Yes, sir. And my grandfather, who was on the first general board of the United Pentecostal Church, established many things for our good. I've been asked a couple of times, how did this come about? Where did this happen? I was getting off of the subway in Philly at 33rd and 3rd Street. It was a Can you gossip quietly? I was riding the subway in Philly, and I was getting off at 33rd and 3rd Street. It was a low time in my life. I had gone through some personal and emotional trauma. I was going through a divorce. That usually quiets the room. I was hurting. I was in pain. I was confused. I was bewildered. And I was lost. I was really alone. I felt so all alone. I had to get out and go do something. I flew to Nashville and hung out with my buddy Joel Lewis and his wife Anita, and they put me up in a house, their house, beautiful home in Brentwood. And we would laugh. I mean, you can't get around Lewis and not laugh. The guy's a great friend, and just a neat person, both of them together. And just kind of pacing the floor, and I told Joel, I said, listen, man, you know what I'd love to do? Something in my mind and in my heart, in the bottom of my heart, something that really meant something to me. It was meaningful. There was some sense of certainty. And I went back in my mind to 30 years prior to a place, for those of us, many of us in the 70s, we knew as the farm. And it was an affectionate term. And First Pentecostal Church, led under the direction of Pastor T.L. Craft. And I'll tell you what, those memories sunk deep in me, and they were not forgotten. My mind went to the times we prayed at First Pentecostal Church in the altar. We went back to the back and had that prayer room. How many remember the prayer room in the back there? How many of you prayed there? How many of you knew somebody that should have stayed longer there? And I knew that was special because I got my calling to ministry there. At one point, it's almost like an eternal youth camp. And you don't know you're there to study and learn things. And it's a lot of fun. You're away from home. I had Conrad, the convertible, and people loved riding in, borrowing my car because I had to show them how to hotwire it. I had lost from Philly, and the top was broken. I drove all the way down to Jackson with the top down, but if you got down close enough, and even in the rain, when it was coming down, you could fly through that and turn the heat on, so it was a lot of fun. But what was more meaningful was that the times I remembered concretely that was foundational to who I was were those times that I made consecration to God and determined a course of direction that God called me to go. And that was meaningful to me. That meant something. And then I remembered the guys and some of the girls, and and the fun we had. And I just wanted to go back to those fun times. And I said to Joel, wouldn't that be cool if we could just get a couple of guys together? Joel, am I saying this right? We started to say, yeah, I'm just saying 4 or 5 guys. That's all I wanted. Just wanted to get around some guys that I could relate to. Well, before you know it, we started making a list. Who would want to come? Who would, do we include this group? Before you know it, people were saying, hey, I heard there's a gathering coming. Can I come to that? And Joel Lewis is like, hey, Joel, what are we doing? People want to come. I said, well, let's let them come. Before you know it, Joel took the lead that first year in 2005, based here in Nashville. And before you know it, there were almost 350 people that said, hey, I want to come. And we did it again in 2010, and we're now in 2015. And there's still that connectivity that you can't really script out, but there's something birthed in the heart and the foundation of who we are and the caliber of our character that makes us have some sense of being. It's too lonely out there. We need each other. We need to stay connected to each other. And it's not a theological debate. This is about friends and the family that united us all. Nobody would have known me from North Philly, but I came there and I felt loved and I felt accepted and I bonded with so many of you. And that's what drew you here again this year for our 3rd time. So isn't this awesome? Aren't you glad you came? Yeah, man. I'd love to see more of my classmates here, but maybe for some one reason or another, maybe that isn't, they're not ready for that. You know, we've grown, we've evolved, or some of us revolved, some of us regressed. I was talking with Mike Gates, another great preacher, pastor. Let's give it up for Mike Gates, man. That guy's got a solid head on him and a sincere heart. And I thought about putting together something for all the theology guys. Call it something like iron sharpens iron. And just get together and have each of us preacher theologian guys that would get up and just give 10 or 15 minutes of just straight shot. This is who I am. This is where I'm at. And this is where God has me. But you can't deny the fact that we all have stemmed and have grown from a place of doctrinal position that was true and genuine. And you can't deny Scripture, am I right? So our view, our angle, our perspective, our interpretation, as we grow, as the Spirit of the Lord leads us to grow into all truth. Can you get a witness in this room? And so some of you have been through your own personal pain. I look at that time that I was bewildered and thought, man, this is so cool. Out of that weakness came the strength of who we are today. You feel strength from being here? This will carry on with you. It becomes part of who you are. It becomes carved into your memory and etched into your backbone. It becomes part of the fiber of your being. And you're going to go back refreshed, energized, because you know you're not just out there by yourself. You know you've got some roots. You know you came from someplace, and we're all part of that. And that's the reason why we can, and I heard it other people say, and I agree, we can not see each other for years, then all of a sudden we see it's like we've been hanging out for days consistently. Do you feel that too? Other groups can't understand that. It tells me that there was something very special. God put a sanction of certainty and purpose and destiny into what we did back then that's carrying on into who we are today. How many of you here have been through some, really traumatic situations? Maybe it was a divorce. Maybe the trauma was getting married. Some of you laughed too nervously on that one. Some of you have lost children before you and lost the pain of your parents. And it's interesting journeys and twists to the road of life that we're on. But through all of that, again, we're coming right back to let's have a reunion. And this had to be sanctioned as an unofficial reunion. It's the unofficial official reunion. Why? Because we're just a bunch of friends. What's wrong with that? And look, we're at the Gaylord Opryland Hotel. Phenomenal. We do it right. Everyone's support is so appreciative and honorable. Who would like to say something? To express, you have 30 seconds to do it. To express what this means to you, this reunion. We don't, every year we kind of say, do we do it again? And we're just kind of left up. Ron took the helm this time and said, hey, if nobody else is doing it, maybe I do it. He called the committee together, and here we are. Who will be the next person? With the powers invested in the chairmans, we want to bequeath this from Joel Lewis and myself and Ron Looney to some other hack that doesn't know any better. But talk to us, let us know what you're thinking, and it just takes somebody with a large bank account to underwrite what's still owing at the end of this day. Can I have anybody, do you have a testimony? See, if you've been through test and you have a moni. Anybody have a moni? Hi, Vonda.
Well, other than my dad and my sister, I've probably been involved in JCM as long as anybody, because I remember the day that he came home. By the way, I'm not a crier, and all of a sudden I feel like crying. I remember the day he came home, and I was just a little girl, and he told us. Gerald Ford was the president during that time. Because I made this big poster that said, "Welcome home, Gerald Ford," because he was going to be the president of a Bible school. And I just thought that was so cool. I remember standing there, and Mom helped me make the poster out, and we welcome home Gerald Ford. And what was that, 74, 5? And then I remember thinking this was the coolest thing ever. All these, young people coming in and coming to church. And I remember time after time when he would say, Mother was doing something, he'd say, "Well, Vonda, get in the car with me. We got to go out to JCM." And I'd ride all the way out to the farm with him, and he'd put me in the dorm with some girls or in where the lounge was at that time, and I would hang out with you guys. So it's y'all's fault that if I have problems. So I would hang out with you guys. And then everybody would come to the house and hang out, and people, I can't tell you how many of you came to the house and helped Mom with housework and things like that. And I would follow you. I would follow you around like a little mouse, and thought you were awesome. So I have been involved in this, and I hated when summertime came because y'all would leave, and it was just. I remember the first Sunday of every summer, I'd just be like. Walk around so sad, because where is everybody? Why can't they stay all year? No, they can't. They got to go home to their homes for the year. I would just be so saddened about that, and just get excited when school's about to start, and Dad would be revving up about school getting started, and I'd get all excited. So it was just a given that I would go to JCM. And so that first year I went, I graduated a year early. I wasn't supposed to be singing with the 70s people, by the way. I will be 53 Tuesday. So the first year of the JCM that was out on 1555 Beasley Road, I was a member, a college student there, and I tried to stay at home and drive back and forth. And then I realized they're having so much fun out there. I said, Dad, can I please stay on campus? And so everybody was already moved in, and I got stuck in the room with Cindy Fleetwood and Tammy Hawkinsmith. They put me right in the middle, and in the middle of the middle bed. And I hadn't been used to cleaning up after myself. I'm sorry. And so they fussed because I wouldn't clean up after myself. But I fooled them one morning. I got up 10 minutes early, and I made my bed. And when I came back that afternoon, we had a chalkboard, and Cindy had written on it, "This is the bed that Vonda hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad." So it was an extremely great experience for me. My sister had been married already for quite a number of years. She got married as a mere child, and so did I. So I didn't know that girls came in and got your clothes. I'd get to class, and I'd look over, and Tammy Hawkinsmith had my clothes on. I'm like, what's up with that? You better bring that back. But it was a lovely, lovely experience for me because I loved you. We shared my parents with you, and there was times I wanted more of him. I can't think of one bad memory with this man or my mom, except I wanted him more. That's the only thing. I would think, why does he have to be out there? Why does he have to go to those meetings? Why does he have to worry about money? Why, all those kind of things. But it was an awesome experience for me as a child of this wonderful man and my mom. It was just a wonderful experience. And thank you guys for being a part of my life and helping create this tornado.
Thank you, Vonda. Yeah. I'll take 3 more people. 3 more. Would you come up? 3 more people. This will be fun. Give me give me two more people after this. Two more.
Good morning. First of all, I want to say to Brother Wolf, I finally grew into these ears. Most of y'all might not agree with that, but the other thing I would like to say, and I'll make this very quick, I promise. I've heard it said many times, and I've said it for a long time myself, that you can tell who those really good friends are, that you cannot see them for 10 years. And you sit down and you see them again, and it's just like that 10 years disappears. And you put your arm around them, and it feels just like 10 years ago. And as cool as that is, and as true as that is, I've realized something here this week, and I'm a crybaby, I'm sorry. Maybe even cooler than that is those people who you don't even know personally, but because of the connection we have, you put your arm around them and 35 years disappears, and they've just become your new best friend. And everybody can't say that. But we can say that because we have a connection, we have a common bond, and it's a very special thing. And I just wanted to say today, I love you guys. Thank you for letting me be here.
Good job, David. David Goldsberry. Give me two more people after this. Carol?
Good morning, everybody. You know, sitting back there, you know how you always just decide, no, I'm not going to do it. Yeah, no, well, why? Okay. Just get your feet up and walk up here. I'm going to do the opposite of Vonda's story. I had never even heard of JCM, or I had grown up beside a UPC family as a child, so I knew about the United Pentecostal Church. But I was raised in a Jesus-only, very open church, and my story started in a divorced family back and forth. I'd go back and forth from Missouri to Kansas to, just kind of all around. Since I was the age of 16, I was hitting the road with my CB radio. And so it was time to live with my dad for a while, and he hadn't seen me since I was about 12. So all of a sudden I'm 12, and then I'm 19. So this is in West Helena, Arkansas. And some of you may know the McCool family. But that is the church that I landed in because I didn't have any friends. And it was difficult to live with my dad because all of a sudden I was an adult. No, I wasn't. I was a 12-year-old. But Laney Wolf's Chorale came through. And I tell Mark this story all the time because Danny Reisenhoover was in the back. And you know, the crowd does their pitch, come to Bible school, find God, find your purpose. And I thought, oh, I like him. So, I thought, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to meet that boy, So I did. That was my motivation, was Danny Reisenhoover. I don't even know where he's at. I think he's actually back in Oklahoma. So here I am now living, in Tulsa, which I think is funny how your world turns around. I know, honey, we're devoted. Okay, 37 years. But so I came to JCM totally raw. I mean, what's so funny is that a long time ago my mom wanted me to go to ORU, and I'm like, I'm not wearing a skirt every day. So I come to JCM, but because of my neighbors, I knew what to expect, and because of being in Brother McCool's church, I led a children's choir there and everything. I learned. And it was never about that. It was about when I walked on that campus, there was an immediate difference felt. It didn't feel like a college, and it didn't feel awkward, and it just felt right. And it's like I'd given my heart to the Lord as a girl, but it was like it's that kind where you go to the prayer altar and you see if you're going to compete with who's next to you. Are they still praying? Well, I can pray longer. But all of a sudden my life changed. And JCM, whereas my family was so fractured, y'all became my family. And, well, that is what JCM means to me, that when I think about happy family memories, it is like Dan Lewis is talking about me going to in his office and talking about things, or asking for a job in a gas station and getting turned down, that I can't go work in a gas station. But, because that just wasn't something you were supposed to do. Well, I didn't know that. There's a lot of things I just didn't know. But what I do know is that y'all are my family forever and ever. And I mean friends that I may not have been like close friends to at JCM when I was there. And the roommates that I have, like Renda and Pam Hurst and Sandy, so many others that were in my wedding and then I continue to be in touch with. But now all of a sudden, things have changed where I have friends. Leilani, I love to talk with her. I didn't really know her in school. But there's this connection that can't be broken. And when our family was going through a really bad thing with our Anna a few years ago, we had many people who would either call us and say, we know what you're going through, and God's going to do it. And when Tracy was singing that song last night, that song is what got me through so much of what Anna was going through. And she's a meth addict and in recovery. And right now she's doing great because of prayers from my family. Let me just tell you one thing, and I'm sorry, real quick. Because of my family here, on the day that she had taken off and she was driving in a car, we didn't even know where she was. We had flyers out in truck stops, and we had people giving us pinpoint stuff all across the nation. We think she's here. We think we just saw this girl here. We think she's here. We had this wide network. We had people praying from coast to coast. And on one Sunday morning, I knew people all over the U.S. was in churches praying for our Anna. And at 11 o'clock that morning, they were like, well, should we go to church? I'm like, no, something's going to happen this morning. At 11 o'clock, she pulled into a state trooper place right off of St. Louis. And later, when it was just said, she said, I just felt like I just needed to just finally give myself up, you know. And it was like, I knew it. I knew when people were praying all across that God moved on that girl. And she had no explanation. She had no reason to stop except God was in her life. And I feel like God became a part of my life by being at JC, and became the most important part of my life. And because of that, my family is touched. And I pray that your families are touched, and that you have the knowledge that you can call on me as your sister, and I will pray, and I will believe God for you, that He is in control every step of the way, every moment of the day. And I love you all.
Thank you, Carol. After Kevin, then I'm going to have Mike. Come on, Kevin.
I fought for the last 5 minutes whether I was going to get up here or not. And you're going to have to excuse me. I want to speak for those that are not here for certain reasons. 2005, I didn't come because I was trying to heal my relationship with my siblings. 2010, I didn't come because, thanks to my sister Donna Taylor, I was trying to mend the hurt and the relationship with my parents. In 2015 came along, and when it was announced in December, I said, I've got to go. Regardless of life's hurts and pains and changes in our lives throughout the last 35 years, And I know there are some that are not here today and this week because of the changes in their lives. And I want to put a challenge out to each and every one of you, whether we have one in 2020 or not, and I pray to God that we do. Please reach out to them. They need us. Tuesday, when I came in early, this is my vacation. I had to take some private time alone. I'm not leaving till Monday, so if anybody's here tomorrow, please get a hold of me so that we can spend one more full day together. David Goldsberry and his wife came in on Wednesday, and it's like David said, we might not have been extremely close while we were actually students in Jackson. But now we're best friends. Facebook has done a wonderful thing for many of us. I've gone on to many of your pages, and I've saw, boy, they look different. They've changed. They're not following the way that we were raised. They might be following God in their own way, which I think is incredible because the school opened up our minds to think for ourselves and to be ourselves and to be excited about who we are and happy with who we are. I went through 2 stages of healing for my life, 2005, 2010. And as David and I are sitting there with a beer in our hand, God will help us, and we're looking at it and we're saying, he looked at me and he said, Kevin, he goes, this is your 3rd stage in order to heal yourself. Last night, I couldn't help but raise my hands for the first time in about 15 years. The first time in many years that I felt the presence that I've longed for so long. And it's because of my family here. No judgmentals going on. Because all of us have had things in our lives over the last 35 years that could have destroyed us. But please, I'm not begging, but I'm putting out a challenge. Please reach out to our friends and our family that feel like they cannot come because of what's happened in their lives. I love each and every one of you. You've always been my family. I'm so thankful that my sister is here. She's the one that told me in 2010, Kevin, you've got to go. Thank you, sis. Thank you, JCM, for making me who I am. Thank you, JCM. Thank you, TL Craft, for being my